So, I used to book a speaker every time there was a Martin Luther King Day because I felt like it was a little intimidating and I wanted to make sure I honored it. And then one time, I don't remember if there wasn't someone I could find or something like that, but I gave the talk and I realized it was important for me to give those talks too. And so, it is Martin Luther King Sunday. Do you know he was 39 years old, you know? He was 39 years old. 39 years old. Think about accomplishing spiritually what he accomplished at being only 39 years old. I forgot my glasses. I have to go back and get them because otherwise you're all a blur and I really like looking at your faces. I'm not 39 years old. This is so spiritually significant, isn't it? Do you see what I'm seeing? There is so much that's right in front of us that we are not seeing. There are so many times we need to humble ourselves and say, I need to put on my glasses. I need assistance. Things are fuzzy. Things are blurry. I was thinking about this in preparing for today's talk because there was a story about my mom that I really didn't want to share. I don't think she'd like it so much that I share it. And then I thought, it's important to share these things. Part of being where I am is that you just get to ooze all over and you don't really get to care because it comes out and whatever. And if it makes life better for anyone, even one person, it's like it's worth it, So my mom has a real hard time apologizing for anything. And I feel like apologizing is one of my spiritual gifts. And it probably came from her because it's so difficult for her to apologize that I'm like, really, let's try it. It's not so hard. I understand that you feel that way. And what I heard is that you're feeling like this. And I'm sorry that you're having that experience. I'm sorry that that's how you feel. And it doesn't need to tear me up. It doesn't need to kill me. I know that the way I show up isn't perfect for everyone all the time, and I also know that we all create our own experiences and we all have our own filters and lenses that create experiences, but somehow when the starburst that's me entangled with the starburst that's you, it didn't feel like enough and it hurt, and I'm sorry. But that's not her spiritual gift. I've gotten her to do it maybe 2 times in her life, and that's like standing there with a curling iron going, can't you please see? Don't you want to grow? And generally the most she can do is something like, and I'm going to have to apologize to her, but I'm more than willing to do that because I know that she's perfect and also imperfect. But the best that sometimes she's been able to do is to say, I'm sorry that you had that experience of me. And I'm like, that's actually not it. That's actually worse. That's like, I'm sorry that you made me suck so much for you. But I'll take no responsibility for that. But there has been growth because we have a very authentic experience and we can say things that need to be said and we know no matter what we're safe saying them, right? So we know on a human level, on a psyche level, on an ego level, we can rip up a little bit of stuff and it's like, you're okay. We've even said if anything happens to you or anything happens to me, no matter what, we're perfect. Yeah, we're perfect. It's good. But we can confront the spiritual growth within each other and raise each other higher. And isn't that important? And I think I've been reflecting lately in this day and age. I think there is something at this time in creation that we're all being called to. And one of the things is the ability to evaluate a situation, to create accountability, and to apologize, to communicate. The whole Me Too movement, right? I just realized this, that it's one of the cool things. It could be scary, people are scared. Probably most men are scared. I did something somewhere along my path. I'm terrified it's going to come out and bite me, and then I'm going to go down, This day and age, you say one thing. And you could have a great intention, and all of a sudden, they're gone, right? I have terrible examples in my mind that I'm not going to say out loud. But the thing is, what is happening on a development level for humanity right now, at least right where we are, is that there is this external schoolhouse teaching us how to be accountable. Teaching us how to say sorry. Teaching us how it doesn't work just to say, no, that was not me. I didn't do it. No, no, no. Oh, you're making it up. You are just, oh, no. Are you kidding me? How could you even say that I would say something like that? Da, 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 da. Of course I said something like that. What on earth do I do? I have no idea what you're talking about. Or to just say, like, I know that's your experience of me, and I'll just hold you in light that you heal that. And begin to see my perfection and how it's more than enough for you. I wrote a song one time. I never finished it, but the lyrics were something like, it was the best I could give you. It was the best that I knew how. But sometimes the best isn't good enough, but that can't help us now. It's funny, but it's kind of true. And if we can humble ourselves, we can recognize that any experience of not enough is an experience of what Charles Fillmore called the carnal mind, of the ego, the human condition, the limited self. It's not of the Christ, it's not of the Buddha, it's not of the awakened one. And if you truly are your spiritual self, if you truly are your spiritual being, which is the truth of all of us, no matter how we show up, there should be no problem with saying, I get it, that wasn't enough. And I get it. And we are having beautiful examples. If every time we see something in the media about a man or anyone, but generally they're men these days, having to apologize for something and going, I can't believe I said that or I did that and I'm sorry. Like, we are getting examples and we are practicing together how to be accountable, how to be humble, how to take care of it and not run from it. And that is what true healing is. Right? True healing is not, you can't talk to me about it. If you talk to me about it, if you bring it up, we will never again have a relationship. If you bring it up, you will not have a job. If they bring it up, can we see the spiritual evolution under the human stuff that's going on and recognize we're all now in this little pool learning how to be accountable. That's a beautiful thing. I don't know if you've seen the article recently about the beach in the LA area. It was a beach that was owned by a black family way back when, and the white community pushed that family out, right, did this and that to make it so that they could not have that beach, and which now is like, millions of dollars of property, whatever. And anyway, the community department ended up making reparations for that and giving the land back to the family. Isn't that funny? Giving something back to the people who owned it first. Giving something back that was taken away as a gift. So they gave it back to the family anyway, and then the family was able to sell it and split the proceeds and get their inheritance, their real inheritance that their family had. It was one of the, the only black beach or the first black beach around there, wealthy family. But that was taken away from them. And LA County did a demonstration of what it looks like to say, we acknowledge that wasn't right, and here is what we're going to do about it. So that's something that's happening, and it's something for all of us to understand on a spiritual level, because until we're going to get it, until we wake up, until we understand what needs to happen, it's like having that relationship that someone keeps coming back trying to heal the relationship, trying to move forward, and someone's not listening. I tell people in counseling all the time, because one of the first things that happens in counseling when you start sharing your stories is that one person says, it happened a long time ago and she keeps bringing it up. Or it happened a long time ago and he can't let it go. Or this is the same story, like it's the same story that I hear over and over. It might have different people, different situations, different characters, whatever it is, but it's the same thing. And I say yes, and it will be until it's heard. Until it's heard and healed. Until it's heard and healed, it will keep jumping into different outfits, into different jobs, into different homes, into different aspects of your finance, your relationship, your whatever, you fill in the blank, right? It will keep following and it will keep expressing, it will keep finding a place to scapegoat out until it's heard. So, oftentimes, when we have that dynamic going on, there is an energy that keeps it alive of, I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm so tired of hearing about it. No, guess what? You haven't heard about it yet. You haven't heard about it yet. If you're tired of hearing about it, you haven't even heard it yet. Can we be humble and breathe into that? When your mind says, I'm tired of hearing about it, it's because I really haven't heard it yet. Not from the Christ heart, the Buddha heart, the compassion heart. Because that heart always has hearing for healing. It always has the space to reflect wholeness, to embody wholeness, and to create wholeness. It does not tire. It does not get exhausted. It doesn't say enough already. It says, come to me. It's safe. Come to me. It's nothing personal. Come to me. Let me hear that with you. Let me stand with you and heal that. And isn't that divine mothering? Right? I remember talking to a mother one time who just shared with me, like all kids will come back for the reckoning. Like at some point, they'll all come back to be like, this is what you didn't do. So why not just get ready for it? Why not just prepare yourselves? I told my little G the other day, she said something like, you're the perfect mama. And I said, I'm the perfect mama and an imperfect mama. There will be things that I will do that won't feel good, and we can talk about them sometime. Like, what if we just got ourselves ready for that? That in the human condition, there's part of the human psyche, there's part of what Fillmore called the carnal mind that just doesn't know how to do things. It's greedy, it's selfish, it wants to dominate, it thinks it's better. It'll do all of those things that we like to think of as atrocious, and it's here. And when we don't want to see it and we don't want to hear it, we don't understand it, we don't recognize it, we can't be accountable for it, and we don't know when we're being it. But when we learn it, it becomes benign. When we learn it, it's like, oh, like Buddha meditating under the tree going, I see you, Mara. I see you, Mara. We think sometimes we can't handle what comes next. We can't follow through with the healing. We can't make it better. We can't make it up. We don't have to make everything better and make it up in the human sense. Spirit will take care of that where there is open-hearted authenticity, pure love, and fearless living. Where there is integrity. Where there is integrity and love, it will all take care of itself, and in miraculous ways, in ways that kind of bring us all to our knees in beauty and gratitude, in ways that we will be grown like a lotus flower, blooming. And that's a beautiful thing. It's nothing to be afraid of, but the limited self, the limited condition gets scared. So we're here on MLK weekend, celebrating the teachings of a man who dove into principles and delivered spiritual nourishment at a time that needed it so deeply, at a time when it wasn't safe to do so, and at a time that became timeless. Teachings that are timeless. He said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. That is one of my favorite statements. It's one of my favorite statements because it's a reminder to me, anytime I'm in a certain energy, how do I want to move that energy? What do I need to move into? What kind of consciousness do I need to move into if I really want to heal something? The master teacher taught this. And it was lived and expressed so eloquently that I cannot get somewhere by going through somewhere else. that I don't want to be aligned with. And the human condition is such that we sometimes think I can get into light by activating and creating darkness. Martin Luther King said, I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. Doesn't that make you just exhale? Hate is too great a burden to bear. He emancipated the perpetrator and the victim in the same statement. He said, let no man pull you low enough to hate him. Whoa. Let no man pull you low enough to hate him. In a letter from a Birmingham jail, April 16th, 1963, he talked about the moral responsibility we have addressing the civil rights movement being extreme. And he first disputed it and the word extreme, and then he accepted it. He said, in his devotion to his cause, he referred to himself as an extremist in his devotion to his cause. But compared to other movements at the time, he saw himself as a moderate. He said Jesus and other great reformers were extremists. So the question is not whether we will be extremists, but what kind of extremists will we be? Will we be extremists for hate or for love? Will we be extremists for hate or for love? For separation or for unity? For healing or conflict? It's one thing to think about these things and to have philosophies and to talk about it. It's another thing to bring them into your practice when the emotions and the temptations come up, when you hear yourself, when you see yourself, when you feel it pulling you in, and to go, I see you, Mara. There it is. There it is. It's subtle, but the story is coming to me again. Will I be radical for love and healing, or will I separate? Because what happens in that intimate relationship where two people are trying to work through things and dedicated enough to going to a counseling appointment or even having a deep, authentic conversation, even being vulnerable enough to bring something to a partner to say, I love you enough and I care enough about our love and our life to bring up something that no one wants to bring up, conflict, but I care and I love us enough to bring it up. Can you meet me here? And in retelling the stories, for healing, for knowing that even no matter what it looks like, no matter what it looks like what your human self might say is being brought up because of this, it's being brought up because she wants to crucify me, or because he wants to beat me up again about it. No, there's one answer. It's being brought up for radical love. It's being brought up because there is love enough, there is caring enough. If there wasn't, there would be disconnection and separation, because that's what happens if things are brought up over and over and the story comes back and it comes back again and it comes back again and it comes back again. Eventually, if it's not heard and not healed, there is segregation. There is separation. So can we see things as a radical call for love? Martin Luther King embraced Unity's fifth principle, which is act. That knowing these truths are not enough, but we must act on the truths we know. To have the ability to self-reflect and then shift and act differently. Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Is that not a statement of principle and a statement of truth? It's just even that line. That's why we're still talking about this today, because of everything that's going on today, and because this human condition isn't going to leave. It's the human condition. It's not like even if we got to a place where there's equality, where there's equal opportunities, where all the things that we want of oneness and love and peace are here, when we're demonstrating peace, we still have to teach about this, because we still need to learn the psyche. We still need to learn the human condition. Because the human condition thinks that I am separate from you. It thinks that you are other because you seem like other. But guess what? We're sharing the same breath. The breath that is coming into me is then released, and it is the breath that is coming into you. The breath that is going to you, to you, to you, it's all the same breath. It is an illusion that there is any separation. So until we get that on a deep level, and if we just got that, there would be no injustice issues. I mean, they might still be there, but then they would be healed, right? The environmental issues, if we understood that, they'd be up and then they'd be healed. We would want to do the best things because we would get, it's always in my best interest to be my best for you. It's always in my best interest to do the best for you. It's always in my best interest for your child to be my child, for your mother to be my mother, for your friend to be my friend, for your earth to be my earth, for your life to be my life. Because there is one life. And if that's not principle, I don't know what is. Reverend Sonja Mathis, one of our staff beloveds, shared a story with me of a time when she went hiking on the Great Wall of China. And she went on this hike there were 4 women, and they came from all different parts of the U.S., and they met up there, and they went on this hike, and there were 2 things she could have chosen. One was more rigorous, and one was more simple. And she said at the time, she's a yoga instructor and quite fit, and at the time she said she was out of shape, but she wanted to do the more rigorous one because it had a better view, and it had, you could see more things, and it was more exciting. So she signed up for it knowing it was going to be difficult. And they had a leader that took them on this hike, right, and went along with them and did the whole tour. And you go on this hike, you get to the wall, and then this kind of celebration. You get to see over the wall, and there was a little space on the other side where you climb over it, and you get to have like tea or a drink and snacks, like a little event over there. And so anyway, the person that took them on the hike, Peter was his name, he had been leading this hike for years, and she said probably he was kind of tired of it. It wasn't so exciting for him because it's like every day. And then he got her. And she was kind of slow. She was having a hard time keeping up with the group. And he was getting frustrated. And she could feel him getting frustrated, more and more frustrated. And eventually, the others were farther along the trail, and he had to stay behind her because that was his job, is make sure, the last one doesn't trail off. And she was struggling, it was like get up some steps, and then she'd have to take a break. And then go some more, and she'd have to take a break. And she could just feel his anger and the frustration just pressing at her. And so they got to the top, and when they got there, he led the other 3 women over to the little tier and said, come on, and said, you stay here. She was the only black woman of the 4. You stay here. You can't come. And she said she was just in shock, kind of like, and it was a really rural area, and, she was alone, and like, even, does this even feel comfortable to me where I am? But she just, and so she just paused, and then he went over to, serve the others the tea or the drink and all that stuff, and she stood there. And one of the other women came back and said, do you want to stay here? And she said, no, I don't want to stay here. I want to be with the group. And the woman went to Peter and very clearly said, she is coming with us, and she will do what we do, and she will go where we go, and she will drink what we drink, and she will stay where she stays, and you will help her do it. You will help her over the wall. You will help her get those things done, right? You will help her, and we will do it together. And then the other women, and they all kind of, but and then 3 years later, fast forward, she sends her sister. Her sister's going to go on the same hike, and she says, what was the group or the company or whatever that you used, and da-da-da. And so Reverend Sanja gave her a little caveat, but if you get Peter, just it's Peter. And her sister replied back 3 years later after going on this same hike, and her sister said, I don't know if you misread Peter or if he had a healing, but he was amazing. And she said she chooses to believe that that was his healing moment, that that was his transformation moment, moving forward. She shared another story about a friend who was getting tired of going back home for the holidays and to visit the family in the South because of the comments and the treatment and all of that the friend would get, and, starting to think, maybe I won't do that anymore. Maybe I won't interact. And then she had a shift, and she decided to say something different. She decided to just speak up and say something when things happen. And she gave herself one statement. That any time stuff happened, she would say, I got to figure out who to pick for this, right? Just kidding. She would say, stop it, you're better than that. She said it left people with this moment of going like, either I have to say, I'm actually not better than that, or it helps them rise to the occasion. Call it up, call it higher, call it forth, right? Not stop it, you're awful, you're evil, how backwards are you, how little are you, how much do you not know, all those things, right, that we could in the human condition say. Stop it, I know who you are, I see you, I am your mother, your father, you have the Christ in you, the Buddha in you, the love in you, the life in you, you are better than that. And she said her experience is transformed. Like still from time to time there'd be a crunchy one, but for the most part it would be great. I said that to my neighbor when I moved to Missouri. He came over and stood in my yard and introduced himself, and we're chatting it up, and he said the N-word, and my partner and I we just stood there at the fence like with this frozen moment, and he said, Marvin, you can't say that. Not here. Do you know who we are? Like you can't be here and talk like that. Oh, you're like that. Yeah. Never did it happen again. Calling higher. Stop. You're better than that. Let's say it together. Stop. You're better than that. Martin Luther King talked about checking out and the power of not calling things out and being complacent and adding to things because we're not ready to respond. And of course, no one likes conflict. But the master teacher was here to demonstrate radical love. And he said, this and more you shall do. Amen? Let's take a deep breath in. Martin Luther King said, power at its best is love, implementing the demands of justice. And justice at its best is love, correcting everything that stands against love. We're going to do a meditation from Thich Nhat Hanh now. So I invite you to get comfortable where you are. This is called the 5 Earth Touchings meditation, and we're going to do 2 of them. So I invite you just to get comfortable, close your eyes if you choose. And if you choose to do any hand motions, you can bring your hands in front of you in a lotus position. And if you want to touch the earth, you can go ahead and touch the earth while the words are spoken, or you can just place your hands gently towards the earth with palms up. If you're at home, you can do it the way they do it in Plum Village. They begin with the statement and hands in a lotus position, like a lotus flower. And then they come to the ground with their entire being, placing their hands up towards the earth and bringing the forehead all the way to the floor. Feet on the floor, knees on the floor. And then coming back up to standing at the end. So connect with the core of your being and take 3 deep inhales and exhales. When we bring our hands down, symbolizing touching the earth, we breathe in all of the strength and stability of the earth and breathe out suffering. Breathe out feelings of anger, hatred, fear, inadequacy, grief. Hands in lotus. In gratitude, I bow to all generations of ancestors in my spiritual family. And we touch the earth. I see in myself my teachers, the ones who show me the way of love and understanding, the way to breathe, smile, forgive, and live deeply in the present moment. I see through my teachers over many generations and traditions, going back to the ones who began my spiritual family thousands of years ago. I see the Buddha or Christ or the patriarchs and matriarchs as my teachers, and also my spiritual ancestors. I see that their energy and that of many generations of teachers has entered me and is creating peace, joy, understanding, and loving kindness in me. I know that the energies of these teachers has deeply transformed the world. Without the Buddha and these spiritual ancestors, I would not know the way to practice, to bring peace and happiness into my life and into the lives of my family and society. I open my heart and my body to receive the energy of understanding, loving kindness, and protection from the awakened ones, their teachings, and the community of practice over many generations. I am their continuation. I ask these spiritual ancestors to transmit to me their infinite source of energy, peace, stability, understanding, and love. I vow to practice, to transform the suffering in myself and in the world, and to transmit their energy to future generations of practitioners. My spiritual ancestors may have had their own difficulties and not always been able to transmit the teachings, but I accept them as they are. Together we take 3 breaths. In gratitude, I bow to this land and all of the ancestors who made it available. and we touch the earth. I see that I am whole, protected, and nourished by this land, and all of the living beings who have been here and made my life easy and possible for me through their efforts. I see Chief Seattle Dorothy Day, Cesar Chavez, Martin Luther King Jr., and all the others, known and unknown. I see all those who have made this country a refuge for people of so many origins and colors by their talent, perseverance, and love. Those who have worked hard to build schools, hospitals, bridges, and roads, to protect human rights, to develop science and technology, and to fight for freedom and social justice. I see myself touching my ancestors of Native American origin who have lived on this land for such a long time and known the ways to live in peace and harmony with nature, protecting the mountains, forests, animals, vegetation, and minerals of this land. I feel the energy of this land penetrating my body and soul, supporting me, accepting me. I vow to cultivate and maintain this energy and transmit it to future generations. I vow to contribute my part in transforming the violence, hatred, and delusion that still lie deep in the collective consciousness of this society, so that future generations will have more safety, joy, and peace. I ask this land for its protection and support. Together we take 3 breaths. This is the practice of the 5 earth touchings. Thich Nhat Hanh, Plum Village. Namaste.